like even now, I've lived in Japan for 8 years. And if I don't use a word, I'll forget it. Amount of times in anime, you hear like, omae or like, teme.
なん
And it's
か、
like, omae wa mou shindeiru.
こんにちは。日本語教師のゆめりです。
I'm Dek. I'm an English teacher in Japan. And welcome to our podcast.
今日も日本語と英語で、ポッドキャストをします。イェイ
Let's go.
Let's go.
How do you get Japanese practice without living in Japan? I would say to download some kind of app. So for example, there's an app called Hello Talk. And on that, you can say that you're a native English speaker, learning Japanese. Japanese level is basic or intermediate, advanced. And then you can say like who you want to talk with. It could be anyone, or it could be people in Japan, around the world. And then like hundreds of people just appear and they'll have a picture in their profile. Sometimes their profile's in Japanese, sometimes it's in English. And it will kind of match you with people. If you're an English speaker and you're studying Japanese, it will match you with a Japanese speaker wanting to learn English. And then they can talk to you in English and you can talk to them in Japanese, switch and change. And that's a really good way, I think, because then you can also do voice messages. Obviously, if you get to know the person eventually, but that's a very good way to use kanji a lot of the time and just learn natural Japanese, because you'll be speaking with actual Japanese people. So it's hard. Like, I haven't really given any good advice, but I think it's like learning Japanese, everything, right? It's like, okay, practice a little bit of kanji, but practice speaking, but use it every day. But if you can go to university, go to university. But also online classes with Yumely. Yeah, that's really good. Like even now, I've lived in Japan for 8 years. And if I don't use a word, I'll forget it. Like sometimes maybe when I'm with you, like sometimes you'll say something. I'm in my brain, I'm like, oh, what does that mean again? Oh, God. And then you'll say the English and I'll be like, oh, I knew it. And like, yeah, it's really hard to like recall the kanji or the word. I think speaking and listening is more important than reading and writing.
Speaking は大事だね。
Yeah, like in your classes, like for people who don't know about you, you're obviously like a Japanese teacher, but like in your classes, do you focus on reading or writing or speaking or listening? What do you do in your classes? Everything?
その人の目的、なぜ勉強したいかにもよるけど、私はなるべくカンバセーションにフォーカスしたレッスンを、するようにしてる。
Ah, nice. Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good.
生徒さん、学習者の人がたくさん話す機会を作って、間違いもたくさんしてもらって、そこから学んでもらうようにしてます。
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. You said like previously, like anime. Anime is like it's anime is probably like sometimes it's like Japanese, but then other times it's not like Japanese. Like like I don't know, just like the amount of times in anime you hear like omae or like teme.
なんか、
お前はもう死んでいる。
なんかさ、私がすごく大事だなって思うのは、いろんな日本語に触れることがすごく大事だと思う。友達とスピーキング、友達と話すこともすごく大事だけど、それだけじゃなくて、プラステキストブックもやっぱり大事だし、でもやっぱテキストブックだけだと、さっきデックが言ってくれたみたいに、リアルの現実のスピーキングと少し違うでしょ、で、あとアニメもやっぱりアニメだけで勉強している人、アニメだけをこうフォーカスしてる人の日本語もちょっとやっぱり変じゃない？
Yeah.
というかナチュラルなこのスピーキングでは少し違和感があるから、なんか一度私の生徒さんで初めてのレッスンで、その生徒さんはすごくアニメが大好きな人で、アニメで日本語を勉強してたんだって。でそしたらね、私がお元気ですかって最初に、はじめましてお元気ですかって聞いたときに、なんかはい、あんたは元気かって言われたの。
yeah, yeah, yeah.
めっちゃびっくりし
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. これはアニメだ。yeah.
なんかやっぱりね、いろんな日本語に触れることってすごく大事だと思う。
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anime is good once you're learning Japanese. Anime helps because then you know what's natural and what's not, and then it helps you listen. And that's funny. Yeah, just anime on its own is very strange. It's not natural Japanese. However, it does help you learn, and like you said, you need different sources. Oh yeah, reading manga is what I recommend as well. If you can buy some manga online, very like children's stories like Anpan-man, Doraemon, I don't know what else, what's another anime, Anpan-man, Doraemon, for children's anime.
なんだろう。
Even like SpongeBob, like you can get SpongeBob in Japanese, like an anime that you know, but in very like basic Japanese, so like a kid's anime, and then the kanji is very easy and it's easy to understand, and just read like a couple of pages a day, or watch an episode of anime and then study, or go online and talk, or like chat with Yumely, or go to the Japanese center in your like country. I know like London has a really good Japanese center, and you just need to study with different sources. And I'm very lucky because living in Japan, although I'm an English teacher, 90% of my job is English. I have to speak English. Most of my friends speak English, and it's not as easy. Like a lot of people think, oh, he lives in Japan, he speaks fluent Japanese. First, I don't. I had to study a lot by myself, and it is easier in a way because I'm always around Japanese, but you still have to focus. I still watch anime, I still read manga, I still go to Starbucks to practice, I still talk, I still use Line, I still like speak to my Japanese friends in Japanese, and all of that together allows me to communicate in Japanese, I think. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The best way is to do everything, kind of like a bit of this, a bit of that, and because you might not know, like I never realized that my strong point was listening. My best skill out of reading, writing, speaking, listening is listening, and I never realized that my listening is so much better than speaking. Like oftentimes, I don't know, like when talking to Yumely, sometimes she'll say something and I'm like, oh yeah, like I understand everything, and then I can't respond in time in Japanese because my speaking isn't at the same level as my listening. But my listening improved so much because I watched anime in Japanese. I listened to Japanese songs. One Ok Rock, I recommend listening to One Ok Rock because they speak in English and Japanese, and just listening all the time. Like in the staff room, there would be a meeting and I would try and listen to what's going on, and it was so hard because I'd never done it before, but then my level just went up, and listening, I never thought listening would be my strongest point. And so if you don't listen to songs, or if you don't watch anime, try doing all these kinds of ways of learning Japanese that Yumely and I have spoken of, and one might catch your interest, and your Japanese might improve like very like quicker than if you hadn't done it. So just various sources, try everything, and Japanese will eventually come to you. But definitely focus on grammar. Focus on grammar and speaking. That's my advice. Yeah. I think that's basically it. Anything else you want to say? Any final advice?
なんだろうね。でもあとさ、続けることもすごく大事じゃない？
Yeah.
今さ、私たち everything が大事って言ったけど、それをもう、やらなきゃ everything と思って、なんか一日にたくさんやるとかではなくて、毎日少しずつ、時々疲れたら好きなアニメを見てみたり、なんか日本の歌を聴いたり、少しずついろんなことを続けることがすごく大事かなって私は思います。楽しく。
Kanpai to that. Kanpai to that, Yumely. That was perfect. Yeah. Kanpai. Just 10 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be much, but it has to be something. So even watching anime in Japanese with English subtitles, that will just get you listening to Japanese. And then that could be your study. And then the next day, study Japanese. And then the next day, read manga. And then the next day, message someone online in Japanese. Just do a little bit of Japanese every day. And it doesn't have to be the same thing, but just keep going. And eventually you'll just fall into a pattern and you'll learn naturally. So yeah.
楽しく。
Yeah. Have fun, definitely. Yeah. Japanese is fun. Like sometimes when you're learning the grammar, like sometimes I'll be in Japan and I won't know what to say. Just like learning a word or a phrase can be so useful. And like naruhodo. Oh my God, naruhodo is the best. Sometimes when I speak to Japanese people and they speak so fast, I don't know what they're saying. And the Japanese just goes, Phew! And I have no idea what they're saying. But I just go, naruhodo. Hi. Naruhodo. Hi, naruhodo. Hi, jane, bye. And it's just like, you kind of fake Japanese. I know that's not actually pretending to speak Japanese, but just learning phrases to then get you through. Whereas before, maybe if I just stood there and was like, wakarimasen, maybe that's very rude and like, you just want to kind of know how, like the correct things to say at the correct time. So yeah, definitely buy the Genki books. That focuses on grammar. It's a very slow pace. It's very easy. Natural Japanese, although I think a lot of the grammar is used, but for example, it will say in the book, "Watashi wa biru o nomitai desu." But obviously, you don't really say that. Be like, "Biru nomitai na." Maybe that's what you'd say. Yeah, biru nomitai na. Umeshi nomitai na. So yeah, you learn you don't learn biru nomitai na in the textbook. You learn biru o nomitai desu. And then when you're out in an izakaya or a pub, someone might say biru nomitai na, and I'll go nomitai na. And then I'll go back later and go on Google and I'll be like nomitai na. Oh, okay, this kind of means like you're expressing like that you just want to drink. You omit the particles. You don't say watashi wa. You don't say biru o. You just cut everything, and that takes time. But get the Genki books, learn the grammar, watch some anime, listen to some music, read some manga, subscribe to Yumely's channel, and enjoy your Japanese.
Enjoy your Japanese だね。
Yeah. Let us know how you study Japanese in the comments. Like, I want to know as well. Maybe there's some way that I haven't done. I want to know how to study Japanese because maybe people think that my Japanese is good. It's not good. Like, it's not good at all. It's very bad. Like, I need to join Yumely's lessons. So for free, right? If I join, it's free for me, right? Yeah, discount. 50% off. Okay. Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you had a good time. Yumely, final words?
ありがとうございました。何でも私たちもまだまだわからないこともたくさんあるので、皆さんのなんかいいメソッドやこのテキスト良かったよとかあればぜひ コメントで教えてください。
Let's all join Yumely's online class together. Kanpai. All right.
乾杯。
Yeah. See you next time, everyone.
はい、
Bye bye.
See you next time. Thank you for watching.
See ya.
バイバイ。
じゃあね。乾杯